Hi everyone, my name is Rafael Pereira. I'm the managing partner at Tinnuts, which is a creative industries focused law firm in India, and I'm the executive trustee of India Music Exchange, which produces India International Music Week, which is the country's premier global music showcase festival and conference that Anna just mentioned, happened about 2 weeks ago. And let me jump straight into it. And I'd like you to feel at home in India now that Sushil has played the music for you. Welcome to India officially. Um, I just have a few key figures in a report that Ernst& Young produced and published in 2023, in December of 2023, along with the support of at the behest of in uh, IPRS. You'll hear from Rumpal later. So some key stats of the Indian music market here up on the screen right now. The nine OTT platforms that you see have come down by three at this point. So, as Sushil said, YouTube is the number one. We bucket our streaming platforms as YouTube and then the rest. Um, and right now, number one position in India is Spotify. We've actually lost more audio streaming platforms or music DSPs in the past 3 years than we've gained. So Wink, which was at one point the largest, run by a telco called Airtel, is out of the market. TikTok Music had a service called Reso in India, also at one point number one. Um, and then we had Hangama, which is kind of the oldest service run by an Indian conglomerate, shut down as well last year. Um, but rather than painting a sorry picture of the market, what I wanted to demonstrate was uh, anything can happen in the Indian streaming market. All of these services were at number one in the past 2 or 3 years. We have, as a market, we've been trying to transition from the freemium or the ad supported subscription model to the premium model where subscribers pay, and more subscribers pay and shift to consume music behind a paywall. And we've seen a friction over the past 2, 3 years. At this point, the only Indian streaming service that is completely behind a paywall is, as Sid mentioned, Ghana. And that is the, Ghana, along with JioSaavn, are the two Indian audio only streaming platforms at this point. I'll quickly move to give you a bit of history of the Indian music market. Um, the recorded side of the business was the first to develop, right? And the reason that is so is because when music really was brought to Indian audiences, Indian music was only viewed as a product. And so I'm going to speak about three phases today, the first of which is music as a product. And during this phase, the gramophone company, um, his master's voice and gramophone company were trying to sell gramophones beyond the English or the Anglo-Indian community in India. And to do that, they needed Indian recordings. And therefore, they commissioned Indian recordings or started to record Indian artists. And because of that legacy, the recorded side of the business was developed first. And therefore, the publishing side of the business was lagging, and as up until now, also has been playing catch up. Now, if you think about the Indian recordings that were put out there, also these were artists that were recording folk songs, that were recording devotional songs, that were recording classical songs at that point, and this was used as a means to attract Indian audiences into buying gramophones, and thereafter into buying vinyl itself. And therefore, I would classify this phase as music as a product. The next phase was music as a byproduct. And just to give you a sense, music as a product that was somewhere around the time of 19, let's say about 1930s, 1930s India, um, the gramophone company, and also India's first label, which was Hindustan Records in the year 1932. That's when they really started operating in response to the demand for recordings on gramophones. So Hindustan Records then, in this next phase also of music as a byproduct, had an imprint called Inreco, the Indian Recording Company. But enough about them. Why am I saying music was a byproduct in this era? This era is really an era post independence, which was 1947 in India. And the government also wanted to use not music as such, but more film as a medium of social behavioral change, messaging, and communication. And so we saw a lot of films in India being commissioned around themes and around messaging of social behavioral change. And this mass media um, became mass media messaging became much easier with the music as the vehicle to carry the message, and therefore iconic film songs um, became the byproduct of the films, and that became our music industry post independence, um, just because of the infrastructure that the film industry had. Um, that was used to piggyback on by the music itself. And therefore, uh, I think it's apt to classify this period of music as a byproduct, because it wasn't the main product. The main product was film, and music was really piggybacking on the film and getting out there. Um, After this era, there were a bunch of music distributors in the music as a marketing asset era, and I would explain to you that uh, once the physical era of CDs and cassettes, there were a lot of distributors who said, "Hello, Mr. or Miss Producer, can I take the music from your film and distribute it on CDs and cassettes?" And that really did well across all language markets in India, across the length and breadth of India. CDs and cassettes of music from these films did well, and that then went on to other independent cassette and CD distributors or labels, creating what we know today as, or what we refer to as non-film music, using this infrastructure that they had created to distribute film music. But then the distributors understood that they could be labels, and what was really working for them was their distribution network, and therefore they chose to make their logos into labels or imprints. And they understood the value of copyright of this music way before the producers could understand it. And what the producers saw, instead of music being a byproduct, they saw music as a marketing asset for their films. So, and this tradition kind of continues, this phenomenon continues today, where you see film music being released along with the music video prior to the film, and that's kind of a way to entice audiences, to give them a tease of what the film is going to be about, what they can expect in the film. Apart from the trailer and the promo, the music video or the first single that drops from the film, that really tells an audience whether this film is worth going to a cinema for or not. I mean, more often than not, the music still succeeds and the film doesn't. But that that just shows you the power that that music has as a marketing asset for filmmakers even today in the Indian market. I've got this quick snapshot of how the revenue flows in the market today. you can feel free to screenshot it or take it from the recording later. But really quickly, because we have limited time, I'll just leave you with a few statements, because you heard from Sid, you've heard from Sushil about the expanse of the Indian market. A few things for you to remember. Number one, languages are genres in India. Apple Music and Spotify both classify Hindi and Punjabi as genres, and Hindi and Punjabi are languages in India. When you speak about Indian music, or you want to speak about a part of the Indian music industry, you need to be very specific. And I know you don't really classify things in Finland as film and non-film. The non-film part of the industry is what you would call the music industry. But when you're speaking to someone, it's important to understand whether they work firstly in the film side of the business or the non-film side of the business. And then you can get into the language, whereas Bollywood is in Hindi, right? And we have, like Sid said, multiple regional language markets. And therefore, it's very important for you to understand that if you're talking to an Indian artist for collaboration, you need to be very specific and say, okay, I'm looking to work in hip hop, in the non film space, in the Tamil language or the Punjabi language. And that's really what we would emphasize, that you focus on finding the genre, whether it's film or non-film, and then get into the regional language or Hindi, which is working across the country at this point. So that's it from me and us at India Music Exchange. Over to you, Anna, for the rest of the webinar.